My name is Emily, aged 30, and lately I've been embracing the convenience of technology, working from the comfort of home. My husband, John, and I celebrated our second anniversary last year by purchasing our dream house with a spacious yard, a shared aspiration we've held for years. Despite the monthly mortgage payments, we've been crafting a serene life together, supporting each other's dreams. We've always envisioned a future with three children, fostering a warm and joyful home. Unexpectedly, John proposed a new arrangement, living together with his parents and younger sister. This proposition caught me off guard. Growing up, I'd always dreamt of living in a large, close-knit family, a sentiment my mother shares. However, I was taken aback by John's consultation with his mother before discussing such a significant decision with me. His suggestion left me bewildered, struggling to articulate my thoughts. John's deep respect and deference to his mother's opinions overshadowed my own in this instance. Our home is already furnished with items generously gifted by his mother, some of which don't quite align with my taste. Gratefully accepting these gifts, I couldn't help but wonder if they hinted at a future where we all live together, curated to her preferences. The thought of cohabiting with John's younger sister, Jessica, worries me. Age 25, she's 5 years my junior and seemingly enjoys a carefree lifestyle without gainful employment since dropping out of college. Her penchant for luxury brands, funded by her parents, adds to my unease. I fear disrupting the tranquil life we've cultivated by inviting such dynamics into our home. I requested time to ponder this proposal. Adjusting to remote work has just become second nature, and merging households would undoubtedly require heightened consideration and compromise. Respectful of personal space, I emphasized the importance of nurturing our relationship while preserving our individuality. Unfortunately, John's response was unexpected. Rather than understanding, he expressed discontent and frustration at my reluctance to embrace this new family arrangement. His inflexibility concerning this matter has been a lingering concern. In light of these developments, I wonder if there's room for a more flexible approach. I shrugged off John's proposal, viewing the addition of a family of three as a minor adjustment. After all, Jessica might soon marry and move out, right? Rumors of her dating someone fueled this speculation. Besides, having my mother's support when we start a family could prove advantageous, I reasoned with Carly. The benefits seemed clear. However, experience had taught me that changing John's perspective was an uphill battle. His inflexibility frustrated me, especially when he failed to reconsider the purpose of our home purchase. Nevertheless, he continued, oblivious to my discontent. "Did you set up a workspace?" John asked, unaware that I worked remotely. His family presumed I was a full-time homemaker, managing daily chores like cleaning and cooking. He proposed splitting these tasks to alleviate any burden. Our living arrangements, it seemed, were set in stone. Feeling sidelined, I confronted John about his autocratic mindset, yet his response left me cold. Despite my substantial contributions, I was reduced to a mere housewife in front of his family. Undeterred, I resolved to contain my emotions and endure the situation. Unaware of specific plans, I received a message from my mother-in-law the next day. She thanked me for the warm welcome and announced their imminent move-in, leaving me speechless. My patience teetered on the edge, knowing I would have to endure their presence for the foreseeable future. With a deep breath, I braced myself. Just a week later, on a sunny weekday noon, my in-laws arrived with a moving truck, notably my sister-in-law Jessica, brimming with enthusiasm for her new life in our home. His optimism was contagious as he suggested celebrating with a cake from a nearby bakery. His enthusiasm was met with joy from his mother and Jessica, who praised his kindness and familial devotion. Amidst the cheerful banter, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension about the days to come. Contemplating the impending household duties, I recognized the importance of preemptively outlining roles and responsibilities. Gathering everyone's attention, I decided to address the matter candidly. "I have something important to share with you all. Currently, I'm working full-time from home, managing a tight schedule during the day. I plan to handle dinner preparations systematically, but I could use some assistance with other household chores, such as laundry and cleaning. There might be occasions when work keeps me occupied until late at night, and I hope for your understanding during those times. As expected, my mother-in-law and Jessica responded with surprise. Wow, Mom, can you believe people are actually working from home in this advanced age? Jessica exclaimed, dismissing the idea of a home-based job as less substantial. Their laughter escalated when they speculated about my earnings, assuming it to be meager. I had anticipated such reactions, but facing them in reality was uncomfortable. I found their viewpoint on work from home outdated, considering its prevalence in today's world. Later, as John entered with a tempting fruit-laden cake, my mother-in-law approached him, sharing her perception of my situation. Hey, Emily just said she's too busy with her work from home to help us out at all. I never thought a new bride would think this way about her family. While confident that John understood my actual income and work commitments, his unexpected response caught me off guard. Emily really is something else. She can't be considerate at all and yet always relies on me. I was expecting her to help with household chores just like my mom does. I decided to live together, expecting that from her. But to see her neglect even a part of the household chores, even though we'd just gotten married, is just unacceptable. His statement caught me off guard, and as the mother-in-law and sister-in-law nodded in agreement, an air of self-righteousness permeated the room. A deep sigh escaped me, foreseeing the gloomy prospect of living with this family day in and day out. Meanwhile, the father-in-law silently finished his meal and retreated to his room without uttering a word. In the living room, the trio, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and John, reveled in their drinks, creating a lively atmosphere. John casually addressed me, referring to me as a housemaid, instructing me to replenish the alcohol and prepare snacks, emphasizing speed. His words were delivered with a smile, but the thought of enduring such days left me thoroughly exhausted. And at that moment, the notion of divorce surfaced in my mind. As the night progressed, John, who seemed to struggle with alcohol, dozed off on the living room sofa. However, the mother-in-law and sister-in-law continued their animated conversation, making it uncertain when their lively exchange would conclude. In the midst of this, I decided to tidy up the empty plates and glasses. I'm thinking of tidying up around here a bit. I'll start with the plates, so let me know if you need anything, I announced. The mother-in-law's curiosity piqued, and she inquired about my work-from-home job and its income, having only heard a brief mention from John earlier. However, she seemed to harbor a hint of ulterior motives, suggesting that I share my blessings with the family. Fearing the consequences of disclosing my exact salary, the prospect of them scheming around my income terrified me. When the mother-in-law suggested I might be struggling, her eyes sparkled, hinting at an underlying agenda. She pressed on, asking about my monthly income, throwing out figures like $900 or $1,800, to which I slightly surprised them by revealing, actually, I only make about $720. I forced a weak smile, emphasizing that this income wasn't solely from my work-at-home arrangement. I decided to assert myself and added, actually, as you both mentioned before, work-from-home jobs are now too common, and I can't really expect to earn much from them, can I? I continued the conversation half-jokingly, deeming it unwise to reveal my true income to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. However, as soon as I mentioned my $720 income, both burst into laughter. Jessica snickered, saying, "That's what I told you, didn't I? Work-from-home jobs are outdated now, so it's hard to expect a high income from that." She continued, revealing more. Actually, John exaggerated a bit under the influence of alcohol and said he was earning in the six figures. Finally, she confessed, John has always been a bit weak with numbers. Back in school, he always struggled with math tests, and as a result, he often had to take remedial classes. Desperate to know the extent of information John had shared, I opted for a calm and rational decision given the current situation to avoid worsening my position. Suddenly, my mother-in-law stood up and brought a heavy-looking suitcase from her bedroom. I couldn't predict what was about to happen next. Her expression was stern as she looked at me coldly and said, "You are not fulfilling your duties as a daughter-in-law in this house." She continued more harshly, "With such a low income, do you really think you are a suitable wife for our family? Or do you already realize that you should leave this house immediately?" I was frozen, completely caught off guard. While wondering why she was doing this, I managed to speak. "Mother-in-law, please wait a moment. This is mine and John's house, so why should I be the one to leave?" As I asked her this, John, who had been deeply asleep until a short while ago, slowly began to regain consciousness. Rubbing his eyes and trying to shake off sleepiness, he said, "Why are you going against what my mother says? I've told you many times not to go against her." He looked at me with a cold gaze and said with a faint smile, "If you intend to cause problems, perhaps it's best if you leave this house promptly, right?" His words were unexpected, and a cold feeling engulfed my heart. I decided, that's it. I don't need to be involved with this family anymore. I'll leave this place on my own feet. No matter what happens, I won't reach out to them again. Be prepared for that. I repeated this to myself, thinking, understood. I will leave the room, so please give me a moment, while starting to pack my belongings. Watching this, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law wore clear expressions of satisfaction on their faces. This is unexpected. I thought it would take at least 3 months or even a year, but she's leaving so soon, Jessica proudly declared, revealing their premeditated intention to drive me out of the house that very day. I left the house and returned to my parents' home. I told them that I would move out as soon as I found a new place and that I was going to divorce John. Initially shocked, my dad said, "Divorcing him is the right decision. You don't need a husband or a family like that." While my mother-in-law spoke arrogantly, I knew it was only a matter of time before she would come crying to me. I was sure I'd hear from her within a month at the latest. Sure enough, just 1 week after the divorce was finalized, my phone rang. It was my ex-mother-in-law calling incessantly. "Hey, what's going on? The monthly mortgage payment for this house is $33,000. I just looked at John's pay stub, and it says his take-home pay is only $1,300. What's the meaning of this?" I thought to myself, she's finally realized it, but of course. I had no intention of extending a helping hand to my ex-in-laws at this juncture. "Mother-in-law, it seems you weren't fully aware of everything, were you?" I began, feeling the need to clarify some key points. "Did you know that John's actual take-home pay is only $1,300? And not only that, he also has a serious debt problem. There was a time when he got deeply into gambling, and he still has debts from that period. The monthly repayment is $1,000. I've been shouldering this burden and repaying his debts all this time." I thoroughly explained to my ex-mother-in-law how much financial support I provided to John during our marriage and the struggles I endured because of his debts. When we proceeded with the divorce, we put in writing our agreement regarding the repayment of debts and loans incurred during our marriage, and both parties signed it. I had anticipated that the situation might develop this way, which is why I had taken precautions in advance. As I spoke, I could see her expression growing darker. "But such a large amount of money. We just can't afford to pay it back," she admitted, her voice tinged with desperation. "Not just the monthly mortgage payments, but also our daily lives are just getting by. What should we do, Emily?" She then revealed Jessica's serious debt problem, a staggering $90,000 due to an inappropriate relationship with a married man. "Please help us. We apologize for all the mistakes we've made so far," she pleaded earnestly, tears welling up in her eyes. Amidst my shock and confusion, I managed to respond, "Mother-in-law, are you all right? If you are under a lot of mental strain, I can refer you to a professional. Please think about this." I paused, gathering my thoughts. "Do you think, after being driven out once, I would just come back to fix your financial troubles? Don't you think that's a rather unusual expectation, somewhat disconnected from reality?" I continued firmly. I understand that you are in trouble, but shouldn't you be considering options like working hard, consulting relatives or acquaintances, or even selling your house or belongings if necessary? Asking me, with whom you no longer have any connection, for help seems a bit too convenient, don't you think? Honestly, do not expect any financial support from me. I would appreciate it if you could stop contacting me from this point on. Goodbye. With resolve, I hung up the phone, but my mother-in-law's persistence persisted, her calls ringing incessantly. Annoyed by her relentless calls, I eventually set my phone to reject all incoming calls. Apologies from John and Jessica flooded in, but I ignored them and blocked their contacts. To drive my point home, I sent a message to John, along with a photo of myself enjoying the beautiful night view from the top floor of my new luxurious apartment, a glass of wine in hand. I firmly believe that both John and his family should face the consequences for continuously underestimating me.